Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2. This will be the last mic check we get before we go live. So I need to get thumbs up to make sure everybody's good. If you need to contact your head-ins to make sure everything's good on that end. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right.
Yep. Check, check, mic check. Check, check, check. What? Check, check, check. Mic check. 1 2 3, 1 2 3. Check, check, check. No, I don't know.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today as I announce some upcoming changes to the executive leadership of the Baltimore Police Department. About 5 years ago, I tapped Deputy Murphy to be the New Orleans Police Department's Deputy Superintendent of Compliance. To some, his appointment to such a high-profile and important position was controversial. He was only 29 years old. He looked half his age. And as more than one person put it to me, he looked as if he recently graduated from a Hogwarts School of Wizardry or Harry Potter. But appearances are deceiving, as he was by far the most qualified person for the job. Since that time, D.C. Murphy has proved his detractors wrong and the old adage true that you never judge a book by its cover. He is regarded as one of the leading experts in policing reform in this country. Police departments, as well as private and public sector organizations from across and even outside of the United States, call Deputy Murphy for his expertise. Fortunately for him, but unfortunately for us, he is in very high demand. That's why I'm here today to announce that D.C. Murphy will soon be leaving his role as Deputy Commissioner of Compliance in order to pursue other opportunities to advance police reform on a national level. While I'm sad to see such an integral part of our team go, I know that he cannot pass up on those prospects and the ability to do so back in New Orleans, where he and his wife, Amy, can be closer to their families. I'm so very proud of Deputy Murphy and grateful for him for all of the good work he's accomplished under his leadership. We have implemented new use of force and stop searches and arrest policies, as well as retrained the department in these areas using some of the nation's leading law enforcement curriculum and instruction. We began modernizing BPD's notoriously outdated IT infrastructure to move from a primary paper-based police department to a digital police department. This includes the development of the department's new records management system, which will be operational later this year. He launched the EPIC program, which stands for Ethical Policing is Courageous. This peer intervention program, which teaches officers how to intervene and stop a wrongful police action before it actually occurs, and developed the department's first community policing plan, considered a model document by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. These are just a few examples of how we have moved the ball downfield on reforming this department. And D.C. Murphy has been a big part of that, but now it's incumbent upon us to pick up that ball and keep moving forward. To that end, we now need a dynamic and experienced police professional to fill this role. That is why I'm excited to announce that Deputy Commissioner Michael Sullivan will be moving from the Operations Bureau to now lead the Compliance Bureau. Considering who to hire for compliance, D.C. Sullivan stepped up and volunteered for this role. I was struck by not only his selflessness and his vision for the Bureau, but how well he would actually fit. Nearly now 2 years ago, Deputy Sullivan came to the BPD to lead the Operations Bureau and its nearly 2,000 sworn and civilian members. He was already a highly qualified and sought-after professional, having served as the Assistant Chief of the Louisville Metro Police Department. With the same enthusiasm and determination as when he first relocated his family halfway across the country to take on operations, he now brings this to the Compliance Bureau. In his time here, he's worked alongside D.C. Murphy as a partner in implementing many of the department's reforms. Along the way, Deputy Sullivan has developed a good working relationship with our monitors, Judge Bredar, as well as the Department of Justice. One of the most important facts for me when I made this decision was under D.C. Sullivan's direction and planning, how the department handled the mass protests last summer in the wake of the killing of George Floyd. Protesters were able to exercise their First Amendment rights safely and without major incident. This was in stark contrast to much more violent and destructive demonstrations in other major cities, as well as to the civil unrest Baltimore experienced back in 2015. Now, there are many people who need credit for that fact, including our residents, activists, community, and faith leaders alike, and certainly the members of the Baltimore Police Department. But we also need to give credit to Sullivan, who made sure, as the monitors put it, to lower the temperature and avoid provocation. So Deputy Sullivan's performance during these protests is emblematic of why I chose him for this new role. I know that he'll bring the same sense of measure to helping us continue reforming the entire department, ensuring that we police constitutionally, fairly, impartially, yet proactively and effectively. However, by making this move, there is now a role to fill in the Operations Bureau. And so it is my distinct privilege to announce that I will be promoting a member of our own ranks and have selected Colonel Sheree Briscoe to be the Deputy Commissioner for Operations. Colonel Briscoe is the daughter of Baltimore and of the Baltimore Police Department. She has distinguished herself in her 26-year career with the BPD and is well situated to run the department's operations, having held leadership roles in both patrol and in criminal investigations divisions. These include serving as a major in the Western District, where she began her career in the Western, which is historically one of our toughest districts, and where I'm told she requested to be reassigned back to the Western after the civil unrest out of her loving concern for the district, saying at the time, and I quote, "I knew whoever came to lead had to care about the people." Now, to me, that's the definition of leadership, and I've taken notice of how she has exemplified it in every other position she served, including being the lieutenant colonel overseeing an area command of 3 patrol districts, and then a commander of the neighborhood services and special operations sections of the patrol division, and then most recently serving as chief of detectives. She's also a graduate of the prestigious FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia, which is a 10-week professional development residency program for police leaders from around the world, consisting of 250 countries. This type of command and executive management training is invaluable. It has been a personal priority of mine to make sure that we are properly cultivating the next generation of leaders in this department. So I'm confident that we are building great succession planning and preparing career members of BPD, like Colonel Briscoe and others, to become the department's senior executives. I actually met Colonel Briscoe about a year before I moved to Baltimore. We were at a joint consent decree meeting in Chicago, where I was asked to teach the leaders of the Baltimore Police Department and the Chicago Police Department about what to expect with a new consent decree. A year later, upon moving to Baltimore, I received a call from the then superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, who told me he had been working with Colonel Briscoe and that she was a bright rising star in the BPD. Additionally, Chuck Wexler, the executive director of the Police Executive Research Forum, has known Colonel Briscoe for more than 5 years, where they first met when she was the commander of the Western District. He also met her at a professional development school at Harvard University, where she was representing the BPD. And then she traveled with him and other national leaders on an international trip to Scotland to learn about use of force, where she brought that information back and BPD implemented its de-escalation program called ICAT, one of the first in the country. Certainly, she is well suited for this role. Now, all of these personnel moves will take effect on June 1st, which gives us time to properly transition. We will be going through an application process to fill Colonel Briscoe's position, as well as all and other positions down the line, and there will be further personnel announcements in the coming weeks. With that, I'd like to thank Deputy Murphy for his service and wish him well and good luck in all of his new endeavors, as well as congratulate Deputy Sullivan and Colonel Briscoe on their upcoming new roles. I have the utmost confidence that they will continue to perform at a level of excellence and professionalism that will shape our department into a world-class enforcement agency. I look forward to continue working together because there's still so much to do to make this city safer and to reform the Baltimore Police Department. Thank you again, and at this time I'll hand it off to our mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I am grateful for the contributions that Deputy Commissioner Murphy has made to the city of Baltimore. He and his team worked tirelessly to translate over 500, that's right, 500 reforms required by our consent decree into actionable police and culture change here in BPD. We are entering a critical stage of our consent decree implementation that requires precise execution of these new policies. I am also pleased that Deputy Commissioner Sullivan will be taking the helm at the Compliance Bureau and look forward to his continued service, especially coming from the operations side, where he will know better than anyone how to make the reforms go into practice. And while our reform efforts are and remain a priority, fresh leadership in our Operations Bureau is critical and critically important as we continue to fight violent crime in Baltimore. I am confident that Colonel Briscoe will thrive in this role, and she has 150% of my support. By charting a new course for policing, Colonel Briscoe can help us reduce violent crime in Baltimore while simultaneously making police reform a reality. The vast leadership experience and qualifications of Colonel Briscoe are unparalleled and speak for themselves, as you heard the Commissioner speak about. And we all understand what's at stake. Violent crime is our biggest challenge, and reducing it is a top priority for us. It's a priority simply because we can't thrive as a city when residents are not safe in their communities. But improving public safety and strengthening relationships with Baltimore residents starts at the top. It starts with leaders who are committed to a new culture and a new way rooted in integrity, and Colonel Briscoe is a leader of that ilk. She has been an incredible asset to the BPD, and I'm excited for her to serve as Deputy Commissioner of the Operations Bureau. I look forward to working with Colonel Briscoe and Deputy Commissioner Sullivan in their new roles under the Commissioner's leadership and reaffirming my office's commitment to fighting violent crime each and every day, strengthening accountability and oversight through our consent decree as well. The core tenets of government accountability, transparency, and service highlighted in our consent decree align with my vision and my expectations for all agencies. But we will not, and we will never shy away from fighting violent crime here in Baltimore. I look forward to continuing to work together with Commissioner Harrison and the entire BPD as we chart this new course to work as partners to make our neighborhoods safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership and your support. At this time, we'll take a few questions.
Commissioner Harrison, I want to talk to you about the new policy from the City State's Attorney's Office. We've heard from several people, community members and people who live in these neighborhoods, and they say that they are seeing open-air drug deals. Are you worried about this new policy making it more difficult for the police department to hold these people accountable in these communities?
Well, we have been working under this new policy change since the beginning of COVID when she first enacted that policy change. And the department is aggressively going after traffickers and distributors of illegal drugs, and we make those arrests. And those arrests are being prosecuted. She and I have had these conversations. What we have noticed is that while this policy went into effect at the beginning of COVID, it did not make crime go up. It actually went down. Now, that being said, the concern is people who are addicts, people who actually need help. We want to give them the support they need and not necessarily enforcement from the police department. Where there are drug deals, we are actively seeking information and working to build criminal cases against those individuals every day, and those cases are being prosecuted.
Are you worried about this making it more difficult to go after these criminals and prosecute them, though, if you're not looking at these drug dealers and on these street corners where it's happening in the open air?
Well, we are looking at the drug dealers. I think the issue is not the drug dealers, it's the people who are in simple possession of drugs. Sometimes that could be the drug dealer, sometimes that's a person who perhaps is addicted to the drug, that's why they're out there buying it. But we are paying attention to drug deals. Open air, drug air markets are important to us. We get those complaints every day, and we work with our commanders to make sure that we're investigating them and that when we can catch them, we're holding them accountable. It's not the drug dealers, it's the addicts that are not being prosecuted.
Hi, Commissioner. In regards to the changes seen in the police department with the implementation of the consent decree, just the reforms that you wanted to make coming in, what have you seen positively that's changed, and what do you still think needs to be done?
Well, I think I think we're all seeing culture change in the police department because we are still producing the same amount of work. We're still getting individuals caught with illegal guns off the street, though we need to get more. And what we're seeing is that even though we're doing more of that work, we're going after drug dealers, we're seeing fewer complaints of unauthorized or excessive force. We're getting fewer complaints about other things that happen, the legitimacy of those arrests. You're seeing improved performance and decreased complaints and uses of force. So the policy change, the practice, the training, we're starting to see some fruit of that manifest in the performance of our officers.
I also have a question for the mayor. When you campaigned, since you've gotten into office, the big thing has been fighting violent crime, making people feel safer in their homes. How do you think this personnel change is going to align with that?
Well, as I said before, the colonel has all of my support. And when you grow up here, as the colonel did, and when you have been impacted by violent crime in Baltimore, it's different. It's no disrespect to anyone else, but it's different when you've lived it. And having that cultural understanding of knowing how it impacts, knowing how violent crime impacts families for generations, we know this is the right move to make. But it's not just on one person. Again, you hear us consistently talk about working together with our partners here in BPD, our state partners, our federal partners, and also now the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, which is right now doing something that has never been done in Baltimore before, and going asking communities and citizens how they think and how they want to be involved in reducing violence in Baltimore. It's about working together. And we, as you know, one of our big things is going to be focusing on gun traffickers, something that we've never really done. We're the first city to have this tool that we have. Every mayor in the country is calling me, trying to get it. We're also going to go after those people. So we have to get out of this mindset that it's just a Baltimore issue, especially when 63% of the weapons that we found last year came from other states.
Can you provide any information about, I know it's an ongoing process, but in terms of compliance with the consent decree, do you feel confident that, the city will be able to achieve compliance?
I am absolutely confident that this realignment and this reassignment from Deputy Murphy to Deputy Sullivan will not slow down progress. It will continue on pace as expected. We have met with Judge Bredar about these changes, who has given us his support and his confidence as well. We're now in execution phase, and Deputy Murphy was instrumental in helping us build the infrastructure. Deputy Sullivan now has led two major operations in two major city police departments. He is absolutely the right person to help us now execute and hold people accountable for the compliance of our consent decree.
What would you say to residents, though, who are looking for changes? I know that a lot of it has been policy changes now, but for people that are on the street, what can they expect?
Well, like the first question, we're already demonstrating increased outputs or workflow by the members of the police department, while at the same time showing decreases in complaints from citizens, complaints by supervisors. So it's an improved performance. Now, we're working constantly to fix all the other social ills around the city to make sure that as the police department becomes more effective and efficient, that all translates into prevention of crime and reduction of crime.
Is there a time frame for when compliance might be?
Well, we're working to improve the department, and you already see improved performance by the police department, but it takes time to fix all of those things, which all of us are working on all the time at the same time.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.